Hello and welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts HD Dream Drop Distance playthrough. It is time to return to Riku in the trek through Traverse Town.
Did I fall asleep? Where are Joshua and Beat?
Hey, do you mind?
Huh?
So yes, we have some Dream Eaters being sods, and we have got to go and rescue that girl, because obviously we are a hero now, and so we need to do hero stuff and save people. It's a pretty kind of common thing to do, you know? But I have to say, it's really kind of interesting coming back to Dream Drop Distance, because I'm currently in the middle of playing through The World Ends With You. So obviously I now know a lot more about all these characters that are in this version of Traverse Town, and it's really quite fun. Because I mean, right now I'm about two-thirds of the way through the game, which is quite nice. So I know a lot more about the characters. I mean, it was always quite fun seeing them anyway in Dream Drop Distance, and it did make me more interested in the game than I perhaps already was. I mean, in terms of The World Ends With You. It's just that obviously because the game was only on DS, I believe at the time that this game came out. They did then release the iOS port, the solo remix, but I don't like playing games on my phone, and I don't have a tablet, and I don't really want to play games on the tablet either. So yeah, Switch port, even though it's not necessarily perfect, best way for me to be playing it. But yeah, it's been really nice actually. Getting to play it and beginning to understand a bit more of the nuance of what's going on in here with those characters, because as it stood, they're a fun extra in the game that don't necessarily do a whole bunch in terms of being important to the plot, but the way that they are presented here is just a really good rendering of how they are in their original game, and that's just really nice. It also helps that actually the whole shtick, it's transferred over really well, and what Dream Drop Distance presents is ultimately how The World Ends With You works and presents some of its style, and that's just always really nice. I like it when things like that happen.
Seriously, thanks. I'm Shiki. How about you?
Riku.
Thanks, Riku.
Sure.
Hey, that's it? You chat up a girl and then just say, sure, and walk off?
I'm bad at this. Sorry. Look, it's not safe here. You should go home.
If it's dangerous, how can you just leave me here? Aren't you my knight in shining armor? Well?
Knight? You've got the wrong idea.
Oh my gosh, I was so just kidding. You get out much? You remind me of this guy I know. Well, good thing we met.
Yeah, great.
Aw, Shiki's so adorable. She is probably one of my favourite characters in The World Ends With You. I think because, at least so far, she's the one who had just a really nice character development, really nice plot arc, just really effective. But yes, all that said, we're pretty much just murdering Dream Eaters. It's how this goes. I mean, it's Kingdom Hearts in a nutshell. You spend the majority of time just murdering enemies in whatever fantastical way that you can find to do it. It's one of the things that I would say that I really do appreciate about the franchise as it has progressed, in that it is, like, just combat in general and movement in general is a lot more fun now than it was in, like, the original Kingdom Hearts. Because while I do really love the original Kingdom Hearts, it's a very special game to me. It'll always be very important. It's, in terms of its gameplay, it's obviously much more, how shall I put it? It's much more rigid in terms of movement and combat options, and while it is still fun even to this day, it hasn't aged quite as well as, say, the fluidity and accessibility of Kingdom Hearts 2 or Birth by Sleep or Dream Drop Distance. I think all of those are much more accessible to play than the original. Even though I would say that the original still has arguably one of the better plot usages. And I think that was just because at the time when the original Kingdom Hearts came out, it wasn't bogged down in all of the madness of what the Kingdom Hearts story has become. I love it. It's so much fun. It's completely ridiculous, and that is why I love it. But it was a lot simpler, and it was a really good, just solo game. Whereas I do feel that a lot of the other Kingdom Hearts games do require a lot of foreknowledge of the other games to get the most out of them. And that is okay. That is a perfectly reasonable thing to have in a game franchise that has been running for as long as Kingdom Hearts has. I mean, a primary example really for me would be if you look at the Marvel Cinematic Universe and how that's worked. Like, whenever they're doing a solo film of a character, so like the original Iron Man, well obviously that was like the first one, really. It's a lot simpler, but then by the time you get to the ones where, like the Avengers and all the big meetups, you're not spending all the time reintroducing characters and backstories and all of that. And ultimately that allows you to just make a lot more progress in terms of the plot you're telling. And while that may not necessarily be as friendly to newcomers, it is definitely a much better way of telling a story, because otherwise you just end up in a situation where there's just so much kind of trying to introduce things that there's no time for character development or really enough action going on. And while Kingdom Hearts does a lot of plot dumping every now and again, because it doesn't try to constantly reintroduce you to its various plot points, it just keeps trucking along and expects that you know. And I mean, that said, Dream Drop Distance, and I'm assuming kind of plenty of other of the sort of later games, have done a very good job of trying to provide that information if you are just starting off here, because there's things called chronicles, and basically they tell you all the plot of the previous games in just an easy to read fashion. But they're optional to look at, and within the actual game itself, you can just experience it as you wish, and that is great. And I'd kind of forgotten where I was going with that, which is not very helpful, I understand, but still. Yeah, when you're not bogged down by trying to present backstory, you can just do a lot more in the moment, and it makes for a much stronger plot. It's why, like, Avengers Infinity War worked so gosh darn well. Even in spite of how much it actually had to achieve. Because, I mean, like, seriously? Considering how many films are now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how many characters that film had, the fact that it managed to pull off a successful, cohesive narrative is nothing short of a miracle, if you ask me. And that is just really, really awesome. Obviously, for something like Kingdom Hearts, it's more of a single, straight narrative all the way through, rather than all different bits and bobs being shoved together, all different characters being kind of thrown into one narrative. But I would say that it's still quite effective. And yes, I think what I'm doing right here is I'm going and picking up some chests, because I'm pretty sure I didn't really properly explore this area the first time I was in here. Also, you know, since I'm playing on Proud Mode, it always helps to go do a bit of fighting, because the higher level you are, the better chance you're going to stand at surviving some of the more challenging fights. And really, I would argue that because of the way some of the fights are set up, you do definitely want to be higher level if you can help it, because some of them are major damage sponges, and some of them are actually really quite tricky, because they are very, very, very aggressive and very deadly as well. So I would definitely recommend just leveling up as much as you can before you go into those boss fights. If you're playing on like normal mode, you really should be okay, but for something like Proud or Critical mode, for the love of God, just level up. Because otherwise you will regret it. And yeah, I was right that I was going on my treasure chest hunt. Obviously this isn't the kind of final treasure chest hunt in Traverse Town, because as with Sora, when we're with Riku, we are going to be missing quite a number of areas this first trip round. So that can be a bit of a pain, but we've found a special portal, so that is all okay by me. And we've got some rare Kuma Pandas. We've also got a Flower Meow, which is a really quite fun Dream Eater. It's one that, if you're able to get it early, you're not going to be able to get it early, I can tell you that now. But it's one which has a very particular ability that you are going to want. Let me actually get up the what it is, because as I said, there are a whole bunch of abilities. They're all obviously locked. Oh, that's it. It's Once More, which actually in Dream Drop Distance is really difficult to get. Like Kingdom Hearts 2, Sora learns it, either level 25, level 28 or level 47, depending on what you select, so yeah, just pick the frickin' shield, for the love of God. Birth by Sleep, obviously you just meld it and that sorts it out, and that's just really, really helpful. Recoded, there's a charm that gets it to you, but I can't remember exactly how that works, and that doesn't really matter. But Dream Drop Distance, there are only 3 Dream Eaters that can get you Once More, and that is a Drek Quack, a Flower Meow, and a Tyranto Rex. Now, you're going to be seeing Flower Meows probably in special portals, great, but in order to make a Flower Meow, you need Malleable Fantasies, which are a little bit difficult to get, because I mean, they're fantasies, to begin with, which are like the highest level of the Dream Eater makeup stuff. And yeah, it's a little bit terrifying, really, to try and get, because a lot of those you're not going to get right until the end. And with Drek Quacks and Tyranto Rexes, they're also pretty much end game Dream Eaters, so you're not going to be getting them anytime soon, so you're going to have to spend a very long time without Once More, which, as you can imagine, not great. Second Chance is quite a bit easier to get, So obviously once more is if you get stuck in a combo. Let me make sure I'm correct on that one. I can never remember the difference. Yeah, so once more is if you get stuck in a combo, it allows you to retain 1 HP at being attacked, if it would normally finish you off if you have more than 1 HP beforehand, which obviously it's invaluable. Second chance is where it obviously allows you to survive a single fatal blow with 1 HP provided you have more than that left. So, really helpful. Once again, other games, very, very easy to pick up. Kingdom Hearts, you can get it level 18 with the Dream Shield, so yeah, for the love of God, go with the shield. Although in Final Mix they upped it to level 36, which that's mean. Kingdom Hearts 2, it's level 49 with the Dream Shield if you selected that. So yeah, once again, for the love of God, go with the Dream Shield! Chain of Memories, 3 5 out of 2 days doesn't really matter, but it's based on weapons. Obviously, Birth by Sleep, you meld it, very easy and simple. But it's a lot easier in Dream Drop Distance than Once More, because there is a Dream Meter called Escar Glow, which you do see pretty early on. It can take you a little while to actually create that Dream Meter, but it's a relatively easy one to pick up, especially in comparison to the other ones, because you've got Aurelion, it's a lion, Meowjesty, R&R Seal, and Zolifant. So, pretty much you'll see 2 of these relatively early on. I mean, we're definitely going to come up against a few Zolifants in the next world. Escar Glows, I'm pretty sure that we are going to see in Traverse Town towards the end, I think. If not, it will probably also be in the next world. Which is fine, I can live with that. But yeah, so it's a lot more difficult to get some of those abilities than it perhaps would be otherwise. It's a bit frustrating. I wish that that wasn't really the case, but it is what it is, and I will live with it. Well, I mean, I lived with it because, you know, I've beaten the game twice. It's always a funny thing whenever you're doing a playthrough and you're just like, yep, already played through this game, I'm playing through it again. And it is actually nice when, you know, you see how your skills with it have progressed. Because actually, obviously, starting the game over once, you know, you've gotten to the end of it already, you can immediately see how much better you are at the game than you were when you initially started playing it. Obviously, there are times like what happened with me in Dream Drop Distance here, for the HD remix version, where it did take me a little bit of time to get back into the flow of things, because ultimately I was out of practice, and I mean, at some point, not nowish, but within the next year, I'm planning on re-recording Bayonetta 2 for Hellfire Comms, so that I can do a proper Hellfire Comms playthrough of that game. And I'm going to have to relearn all my Bayonetta skills, because of course I'm going for a straight platinum run again. I've done it once, I'm doing it again, of course. Even though, I mean, it was frustrating the last time, but it's okay. But it will be nice to sort of relearn how it all works and get back into it, because I know that while by the time I got to the end of my second run of Bayonetta 2, and the original Bayonetta, I was definitely a lot better at the game than I ever used to be. It was then sort of the going back to it after a very long period of time where you lose some of your skills, and it's not great. But that's just the way it works. I mean, I'm personally very intrigued as to what's going to happen when I do Kingdom Hearts 3 when that comes out, because my plan And I can tell you this now because, I mean, it's Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, it makes sense. It's sort of the whole point that this is going for, is that the recording, the footage of Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be done blind. It's going to be my first time playing through Kingdom Hearts 3 because I really want to capture my thoughts and feelings of the game from the beginning, because obviously it is such an important, it's such a big game in my kind of life, I suppose. I mean, that's being maybe a little bit melodramatic, but as I'm sure you can understand, it's a very, very important game to franchise to me, and obviously it's such a big title within that franchise. We've been waiting for it for so long, and I just want to capture that in the moment, because I think that will be something quite special and something quite interesting to see and think about as well. So I will be very interested when I actually do finally get to doing that and seeing how that all works out, because it will be the first time that I will have ever recorded a Kingdom Hearts game completely blind. Because all the others I have played before. So we will just see how it goes. But yes, I will point out, this is another area of Traverse Town that we've never been to before, the back streets. It's a little bit frustrating because it's gigantic and winding, and it's kind of difficult to tell where everything is, and to tell where you've already been. But it's okay, because we will make it through. And it will be lovely and delightful, and we will be successful. It'll be okay. And I will say, we are not going to be beating the boss in this part of Traverse Town. No, I decided it would make much more sense, because of how we've been playing through Traverse Town, to actually just go for how you perhaps, I wouldn't say should be playing Dream Drop Distance, but what is ultimately going to make sense to do, because you, if you're dropping as I have been dropping, you're probably going to be just before the final boss, well, just before the boss of Traverse Town by the time you get to here anyway. So it makes sense to drop at the point where there is a kind of decent save point just before the boss, flip back and do both of the bosses at once. As I've said before, it's not going to be how I'm going to play through the rest of the game. Every other kind of world apart from the final one I'm going to be just doing in one fell swoop, because that makes sense. And for doing something along these lines, it just works, and that really low number of treasure chests is really, really frustrating, but it's not something I can do a huge amount about. So I'm just going to have to live with it. Because once again, we will be coming back to Traverse Town, and we'll be doing all of the treasure chest collecting then. And one of the other things that I feel I should probably point out is that there are a lot of commands in this game that are really quite useful, but there are some that are definitely more useful than others. I mean, I am currently not necessarily best set up, I would say. There are certain commands which, once I've gotten them, I will be sticking with them, because I really like them, they're really helpful, they're really powerful and really useful. Kind of pretty much the entire balloon line, it's sort of seen as the cheap way out for a lot of Dream Drop Distance, but it's present as a a move. It's very useful, and because I'm playing on proud mode and, you know, I want to make this as simple as possible, and also just give you sort of some recommended tactics if you're deciding to play through Dream Drop Distance and have not already. They are good tactics to be taking in with you to do some of these fights, because otherwise you may find them to be a little bit overwhelming, you may struggle in some ways. Just anything to help, I suppose, and just help you enjoy yourself, I suppose. But yeah, pretty much as with Sora, we are just going to be rolling on into the 4th district, and that's going to be a delight. And then the boss of the world is located through the same door that Sora has to go through, so it's in the same location, so that's quite nice. The worlds are going to diverge a bit more going in from the next world onwards. A lot of them do have very similar layouts, but you don't visit the same areas in both. I mean, it's sort of similar to here, but the only real difference is in terms of location that you're visiting. For Traverse Town is Sora gets the post office, Riku gets the back streets. That's basically it. Which is a bit sucky, but it's a thing, it happens, you live with it. But yeah, once we get into future worlds, you'll be getting a number of different locations, rather than just one room, which is nice, I like that. Although part of me wishes that they had gone with what I think had initially been the idea, of both worlds being very sort of different, but I suppose time and money probably prevented that from being the case. I've got a prime example of that particular discussion for later on, with a world that was particularly going to be affected by that whole idea. But you may have noticed I am getting really low on my drop gauge. Like, lower than really I should be. So, what I am going to do, because I've got picked up all the treasure chests I believe I can in here, I'm just going to rush to that save point. I think. Please do, because you're not going to be able to get up there, because there's nothing up there. Yeah, we are just going to murder a few more Dream Eaters and, yeah, then just absolutely peg it to the save point, because I don't want to have to go through this room again. I will be, because I want to collect everything before I go take on the boss. But the main thing was just get to the save point, and then you can restart from there, and that's definitely a lot more bearable. Slash, you know, just drop around here, and that's not too bad, although I think since I haven't actually hit the save point, I'm not going to respawn at this end, but I might be able to murder all of the Dream Eaters before then, which would be quite nice. I'd feel quite proud of that. I mean, as you can clearly see, they do give you quite a lot of notice that your drop is imminent. If they didn't, I feel that would be quite cruel. But it's all okay. And lovely, can't really do anything more on that one. Can get a defense boost though, that's quite nice. Might as well get that magic boost. I tend to go for the higher ones first. If I've kind of saved up for them, it's quite helpful. But yes, that is majority of Riku's journey through the first trip of Traverse Town done. So, Am I just gonna drop automatically, or am I just gonna go and let it drop itself? I think this is what I was questioning, but then it was just like, no, just gonna drop anyway. So, next time, we are going to have a lot of fun taking down the bosses of Traverse Town. Let's go!